Bing! Hello, everybody. This is a later than usual Comic Call. I'm Dylan Lang, the host of the Comic Call. Usually I do my show on Wednesdays, but I couldn't afford to pay for my comics this week until today. What happens when you need money, and plus the reason why it's so late also my daughter came back from camp today, so been a while to get her. Geez, my hair's terrible. Get her reoriented and stuff like that. So, oh, that hair is going to distract you, isn't it? Look at it; it's so beautiful. Anyway, it is 10:30, well, 10:26 here on a Friday night. I will be doing a quick comic call, probably just talk about what new comic books came out this week. So the reason why I do this show is to get you guys out there, to get the comic book stores. Give them your business, check them out, just see if there's anything of interest. Comic books are huge right now, especially with comic book movies. Everybody knows this guy, Deadpool. I finally saw his movie. I actually enjoyed it because I don't like the character. It surprised me immensely, but I liked the movie a lot. So, and so did a lot of other people. So, I would recommend, though he probably would like the crotch shot the whole time. Anyway, actually, no, I'm going to put it back this way. It's okay. So, comic books are popular right now. So I figure, why not go to the source and check out comic books for yourself, do some reading. True story, it did help me read. So young kids, if you're having trouble reading, go get them comic books. Yeah, there's pictures in it, but also there's lots of words too, and they have to read it to understand what the pictures are saying. That's one of the reasons how I learned how to read. And I also recommend you go out and you support the comic industry, because it might not be around for much longer. Luckily, I think we're reaching a renaissance, so things are getting a little bit better, but you never know what could happen. Things can change. Print is dead, as Egon Spengler once said in Ghostbusters. So I just thirsty as hell. Anyway, enough of that talk. Let's get to what you all came here for. You all came here for today's comic haul. About normal size. Which about here is about $70 worth of comics. So that's the only bad side, maybe, I guess, to the comic industry, is the prices are way too high. But what can you do? However, here we go. We start off everything with DC, then Marvel, then the Independents, and then I go to bed because it is later than usual. The vast majority of you are going to probably watch this tomorrow. However, that's another good thing, is watch this tomorrow. These are all books that came out this past week, so hopefully your store still has some. A lot of number ones from DC, so jump right on in. If you want to get started at the ground floor, now's the time. And some good number ones from Independents also, so we got that all going on. So here we go. Boom. First up is DC is going to be doing their rebirth probably all the way through September. So you're going to keep hearing me say this all the time. They're spreading it out, though, which is pretty good. There's only one new. Here's how it's going for those who don't know. DC Comics did the New 52 back in 2011. It lasted about 5 years. And then they started intermingling the old DC universe with the new DC universe because it just wasn't quite working. So you get rebirth with that. So what they're doing now is they're restarting all their books again, basically. And not all of them, but some of them are going to start off with a rebirth issue 1, which is just basically saying this is the creative team, this is what we're going to be going with. And then about 2 weeks later, if it's a bi-weekly, because some of the titles are bi-weekly, 2 weeks later you get the first issue, or if it's monthly, a month later you'll get the first issue. So it all works out. This one I wasn't that excited to get because I don't like the main character in it. But I like the premise about what they're doing, especially with what's coming up in September from DC. So I figure I'd give it a shot. Am I hypocritical? Maybe. I wanted to see what they got planned for this. The only rebirth book we have this week is Red Hood and, let's see if better view. There we go. Red Hood and the Outlaws Rebirth. Now, for those who don't know, the Red Hood is former Robin number 2, Jason Todd, who was a bit more vicious. beat the criminals up a little bit more than they were supposed to, and advocated killing villains as well, which goes against everything Batman stood for. And in a obvious plan to get him captured, the Joker set up something for him to try to find his mom because he was a street urchin. Batman knew it was a trap, but he didn't care. Jason wanted to get his mom. Joker trapped him, killed the woman who may or may not have been his mom, and then beat Jason Todd to death, basically. This is the 1987-ish, I guess, storyline. A Death in the Family, where you would call in to see if Jason Todd lived or died. To be honest, it was always stacked against him to die because Jim Starlin, who wrote the storyline, hated Jason Todd, I think, and wanted to make him the biggest asshole in the world. And maybe what he was going to do was make him the big asshole, and then if he would have lived, maybe gave him a chance to rewrite him as a better Robin or whatever. But in the end, he died. But then Judd Winnick decided he wanted to bring him back. So they came up with the Red Hood idea, and through magic DC stuff, he was able to be brought back to life, and then had a couple of popular things, and then had his own popular series, The New 52, along with Starfire and Speedy. Starfire and Speedy are not in this because they are becoming members of the Titans. Starfire were Teen Titans, and Speedy, member of the Titans. So Jason Todd needed a new set of outlaws because he, it's I guess a popular series, and Scott Lobdell, who wrote the New 52 one, is writing the new Red Hood and the Outlaws. So the premise is what drew me to this book. In September, there's going to be a book out called Trinity, which is going to focus on Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, every issue. And so they decide that Red Hood and the Outlaws would be like sort of a distorted mirror image with Jason Todd as the Batman. Then you've got, let's see if I can get in here closer. Where's the camera? There it is. Bizarro as the Superman, and Artemis as the Wonder Woman, and they're all kind of crazy and psycho in their own ways as well. So they're going to be a team. So I might be actually interested in checking this out. Unfortunately, this Rebirth issue is just basically Jason Todd's story. It's written by Scott Lobdell with art by Dexter Soy. I'm not exactly sure if Dexter's going to be the main artist on it, but it's a pretty nice, moody artwork type of thing. And we learn about what the Jason Todd in Rebirth is like. And he is, he still works well with Batman, but still has his issues with him. So it's not all, butterflies and stuff like that. So I'll have to read it to find out for sure. But we'll see. I like the idea of the premise. I wish we would have seen more of Bizarro and Artemis, but we didn't. But you know what? I'll check it out a little bit later. So Rebirth, Red Hood and the Outlaws Rebirth #1 comes out today. Check it out just to see it. Okay, I'm going to keep it on this side because the light doesn't shine in there. Again, sorry, I'm just thirsty as hell. But speaking of Speedy and Batman stuff, Titans #1 comes out today. The Rebirth Titans came out 2 weeks ago, I guess, or a month, or maybe it was a month. I think this is about a month or so ago. And it reintroduced Wally West to his buddies in the Titans. The Titans team is the old school Titans. You got Nightwing, you have Speedy, you've got Wonder Girl, or Donna Troy, as you want to call her that. Aqualad is in there. I guess I forget Yellowjack. I forget what her name is. She's going to be, I guess, a character in it. And then I don't know who that is. Is that the woman, the Mystic? Bumblebee. That's Bumblebee, and I think that's the Mystic. Not Raven, because Raven's going to be in the new Teen Titans. I enjoyed the Rebirth issue. I actually did read it. It's written by Dan Abnett with art by Brett Booth and Norm Rapmud. I liked Brett Booth. It was weird. When Brett Booth first came out, I thought I didn't like his artwork all that much. But then when he took over The Flash, when Van Jensen wrote it, I thought it was amazing. And so what I think they're going to do with Titans, because Wally West is the main the key point between the New 52, or rather the old DC universe and the Rebirth universe. He was not in the New 52, so he's going to be the one in there. And there's quite a reveal, and I'm going to show this reveal because I'm really excited about this. And apparently, this is going to be the main bad guy of the series. That for those who've read Rebirth know that the Watchmen are involved in it, and I love this character. I've always has. It's Abracadabra. I think that's the name, right? No, yeah, it is, right? I think it was Abracadabra. Just be sure. I thought it was Yeah, Abracadabra. Yes. He's from the future, and he uses future stuff to pretend he's a magician because he's obsessed with magic. But I'm really excited to see him back. He's supposedly going to be the main bad guy. You get some Speedy in there. Get a little bit about Speedy. You get a little Donna Troy in there. So you're getting really good. I know a lot of people don't, but I like Lilith. Lilith is the name of the mystic. I like Brett Booth's artwork. Maybe as I'm getting older, I'm getting more open with it. And Dan Abnett's always a great writer, also, especially when he's with his buddy Andy Lanning, also. But Dan Abnett's written by himself. But this looks good. I read the Rebirth. I really enjoyed it immensely, and I'm going to pick this up because I like it. So Titans #1 came out today. So you might be lucky your comic store might have the Rebirth issue for Titans, so you can get caught up very easily with both of them. But I think they've written it enough so that you don't need to have read Rebirth to understand what's going on. But it's also written by Dan Abnett with art by Brett Booth and Norm Redbud. Another one that I read the Rebirth on, surprised me how much I liked it. I mean, I like the character, but I was always about his regular series. Nightwing #1 is finally out. The Rebirth issue came out a couple weeks ago. Tim Seeley wrote the Grayson book, and now he's writing Nightwing. Art is by Javier Fernandez, and we're getting Nightwing back to Nightwing. We're getting the Parliament of Owls back into stuff and involved with new bad guys. We even get a little, some more Batman love. Him and Damian pop up in this. It shows that Nightwing is now totally ensconced in the Gotham universe. Batgirl returns, and I always love Batgirl and Dick together. They always seem to work well together, and I love this new bad guy, and I can't wait to read more about Talon, who works for the Parliament of Owls. So I'm looking forward to that. So Nightwing again surprised me also. It shouldn't have, because I like Tim Seeley as a writer as well. So Nightwing #1's out. Again, your local comic store should probably have copies of the Rebirth issues. If you want to get the Rebirth Nightwing, was really good because it basically connected all of Nightwing's appearances from Dick Grayson through Nightwing the first time, through when he was Batman, through when he became Grayson, through when he became Nightwing again. So it's really cool. Next up is, we'll see how I feel about this. I'll tell you the detail, but it's Batgirl #1. Now this one did not have a Rebirth issue. This is just the first issue of Batgirl. There was no Batgirl Rebirth. There was a Batgirl and the Birds of Prey Rebirth, but that's connected to the Batgirl and the Birds of Prey comics. It's going to come out next week, I believe. The first issue will be out for that next week because the Rebirth came out last week. But here's Batgirl #1. Again, this is like the variant cover. There's 2 covers to all the DC Rebirths. I just pick which ones I like the best. This is the Rebirth. This is the variant cover. This one is the main cover for Nightwing. And this is the main cover for Titans, and it's the main cover for Red Hood and the Outlaws. I almost picked up the variant of the Red Hood and the Outlaws, but something because it showed a more full view of Bizarro and Artemis, but it was just something about it. But this is the variant to Batgirl. I kind of liked it, and I'm going to pick it up. It's written by Hope Larson. So you get another female writer working on it, which is good. Artwork by Raphael Albuquerque. Albuquerque, I guess. She's actually in Japan in this one, and I think they bring in one of her supporting cast members from the old Batgirl series. So that's pretty good. I think it's the transgender character. I'll have to read the book to be sure, but we'll see. I remember because they did have a transgender character, but it could just be it looks more male than female, so we'll see what happens. But it looks like Batgirl is in Japan, so that's an interesting aspect in itself. But Batgirl, here's my issue. Batgirl before the New 52 was actually two different Batgirls. There was, Barbara Gordon was Oracle, and I loved her character as Oracle, and I loved her teaming up with Black Canary in Birds of Prey. However, they did have I keep forgetting her name. She's in Detective now. Let's see if I can. I'm not gonna get Detective right now, but there was a silent Batgirl for a while, who's I think was kind of Asian, I think, and then they got Spoiler, the character Spoiler became Batgirl also, and both of them were really, really good stories, and I like them. Then when they did New 52, they wanted to bring back Barbara Gordon as Batgirl, even though she had been paralyzed by the Joker and the Killing Joke, which we're not going to get into right now. So I was a little hesitant about that, but when you get Gail Simone to write the new Batgirl series in New 52, it got me on board. So I read her entire run, and then they shifted gears entirely, and I read a couple issues of it, but that was right around the time where I gave up comics. It got good reviews, the new shift to it, to more modern era Batgirl. I think they're going to try to mix the modern era Batgirl with the old style Batgirl. So again, she did not have a rebirth issue. If you like Batgirl, though, check out the Batgirl and Birds of Prey rebirth issue, because she will also be in the Birds of Prey book as well. Go ahead and pick this up. Batgirl #1 comes out today, or came out on Wednesday also this week. I read the rebirth issue that came out a couple weeks ago, and I'll tell you about this too. But Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps #1 is out. This is the variant cover. I like Hal, but he was never really my favorite Green Lantern. Kyle was, but I also like John Stewart, and I had a soft spot for Guy Gardner also because he's from Baltimore, like I am. Hal just always seemed to be, like that star student, the one that everybody wanted to be, like the Captain Kirk type of style. That's why I think Chris Pine would have been a really good Hal Jordan, and not Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds would have been better Wally West Flash. He's an amazing Deadpool, so obviously he found his character. But if they were going to do a Green Lantern movie, I would really like to see Chris Pine as Hal Jordan, because I can see Chris Pine doing that. However, from what I heard, I don't think he's interested, because he's playing Steve Trevor in the Wonder Woman movie, so he really can't be in both Green Lantern and Wonder Woman. So he made his choice, and that's that. So we'll get another. But I've never really been a big fan of Hal Jordan's. I just never have been. But I picked up the Rebirth because I've been picking up the Rebirth, and I like Ethan Van Sciver's artwork. And it was a good story, actually. It surprised me how good the story is. Robert Venditti always is a really good writer also. It surprised me how much I liked it. And what I like even more, despite the fact that this is Hal Jordan as like the main guy and the Green Lantern Corps, the Green Lantern Corps does make an appearance in this book. Actually, no, I'll show you, because it's not really a surprise. We knew they were coming back, obviously, because the title was Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps. So you're getting all your favorites. So I don't see Kyle in there. So I guess Kyle's someplace else right now. But right now they're going to need the Green Lanterns, because Sinestro has basically taken over the area where Oa was. And so that's going to be the first main storyline. So you need to get a little Sinestro in there, and you get Hal Jordan back, who created his own ring this time around. So we'll see what happens. But I'll keep up with, because I do like other aspects of the Green Lantern Corps. It's just they make Hal Jordan seem like he's God Green Lantern, and that kind of pisses me off a little bit, but we'll see. Again, you'll probably be able to pick up the Rebirth book that came out a couple weeks ago, and I think Ethan Van Sciver is going to be, this is one of the bi-weekly books. I think Ethan Van Sciver is going to draw every other issue or something like that to keep up with his deadlines. or he'll do story arcs maybe. I don't know how they're going to work it out. We'll find out eventually. So, which reminds me, I said Robert Venditti is the writer. Rafa Sandoval is the penciler, and Jordi Tarragona is the inker. So Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps #1. Next up is The Flash #3. So The Flash has been one of the first comics to come out in the new Rebirth. Obviously, it's issue 3. It's also bi-weekly, so that's why it's going so far. So you basically had 4 issues so far. You had the Rebirth one, and then 1, 2, and 3. I haven't read 1, 2, and 3. I read the Rebirth issue, but I haven't read 1, 2, and 3 yet. I'm looking forward to it. I've always liked the Flash. Again, Wally West was my Flash, and I'm really excited to see him back in the DC universe and back as part of the Titans, and that's really going to be his book. Barry Allen grew on me over the New 52 time, especially when Van Jensen took over as the writer and Brett Booth was the artist. So, Barry has grown on me a little bit, plus the fact that I like the TV show as well with Barry Allen in it. So I'll continue reading The Flash because everyone always asks me, Dylan, what kind of superpower would you want if you could have any superpower? It would be super speed. Actually, now the light's getting on that one a little bit. So let me get closer there. So there's a Flash. This is the variant cover. So I just like it because it's got all these speedsters running it. It's by Dave Johnson. However, this iteration of the Flash might not be till the back. Where are you? I need to find a creative team. Maybe it isn't in the back. Maybe I'm just missing it. I hate when you can't find the creative team. Oh, it is in the middle. Here we go. Joshua Williamson is the writer, and Carmine Di Giandomenico is the artist. So I think they've done every issue so far. I don't think they've had a fill-in yet. So again, it's passable artwork. New speedsters getting introduced all the time. I guess that's okay. I mean, they're doing that in the comics, but what's really cool also is they are sticking with also the Wally West from the New 52 each other as well. There he is right there. So I like that fact as well. He's going to be Kid Flash because we've seen him be Kid Flash. I think he's joining the Teen Titans. So that'll be good for that. So, and then of course the bad guy of the piece, which is rumored to be maybe one of the bad guys in the new season of the Flash, or the Flash movie with Ezra Miller, which I have no desire to see for other reasons, is Godspeed. So he looks pretty good, pretty badass for bad guy. It's better than Zoom. I'm tired. You see, that's the thing. I'm tired of seeing these same old stuff. Zoom, there's always a Zoom story in the Flash. There's always a Joker story in the Batman. There's always a Lex Luthor story and Superman, of course. When we get to action in a few minutes, you kind of you got to say, okay, fine, that's good. But again, Flash #3. Again, it's bi-weekly, so your comic store may have them in stock. Rebirth is a big deal, and they're trying to get it together, so they might keep their books on the shelf a little while longer to get more people to read them, and then get them hooked and keep them coming back. This next cover has a bit of a story behind it. This is Wonder Woman #3, and if you've been following stuff that's going on Twitter or Facebook or whatever through the comics, this is Frank Cho's last variant cover. I like Frank Cho. He's from Maryland. I've met him before. He's a nice enough guy. His artwork is gorgeous. He loves to draw the women, and he does a really good job of drawing the women. However, it got him in a little bit of trouble, especially with this variant. I had to pick up this variant cover because this is the one that got him into trouble. Basically, let me see if I can hold this. You see this part right here where the ass is? Yeah, there was more to it than that. There was actually a gratuitous panty shot because that's what Frank Cho likes to do. So there was a panty shot of Wonder Woman. So she actually had panties on underneath it, and you got to see it. Greg Rucka, who is the writer who I love, said that's not the kind of Wonder Woman we're trying to get people to come see. So can we do something about editing? So the editor said, okay, we'll just move it over a little bit this way so we don't see the panty shot. Frank Cho said that's fucking censorship, and he's quit. So I don't know which side to take, but it's such a gorgeous cover because he can draw his women. Oh my God, it's such a gorgeous cover. And unfortunately, this is the last one you're going to see of him. But not much you can do. I mean, to be honest, I don't want to see a panty shot on Wonder Woman, to be honest, because she's a warrior. She's not a sex pot. But Wonder Woman's doing something really interesting. I've read every issue of Wonder Woman so far because I love Greg Rucka. I loved his first run go around on Wonder Woman. I love this version of it too. It's bi-weekly, so there's a lot going on, and you need to check it out for yourself. But let me just give you a brief rundown. In the New 52, Wonder Woman was introduced as being the daughter of Zeus. Zeus came down, screwed with Hippolyta, and got her pregnant with Wonder Woman, so she's a demigod, basically. And that was what the basis was of the Wonder Woman comic in the New 52. At the same time, she also fell in love with the New 52 Superman and had a very busy, healthy relationship. And then the New 52 Superman, first step, then the Convergence thing from last summer, they brought the old Superman from the pre-Flashpoint New 52 DC Universe, who was married to Lois, and they had a son, Jonathan. They brought them into regular DC continuity, gave them their own book, The Adventures of Lois and Clark. And then when they killed the New 52 Superman, they brought that Superman in, and he's the one who's headlining Superman in Action, as you'll see in a few minutes with Action. Superman is excellent. And Action, I haven't read yet, but I'm dying to actually. It's like one of the ones next on my list. I've got all the issues, and I was just looking through it today. I was like, wow, I really need to get into reading this. But we're not talking about Superman. We're talking about Wonder Woman. So basically, Wonder Woman had a relationship with Superman. Her Superman dies, and then there's another Superman who is with Lois Lane and has a child. So that's messing with her head. And now, in the Rebirth issue, there's talk that the old Wonder Woman from the pre-Flashpoint and New 52 is starting to bleed into her as well. So she doesn't know if she's the the daughter of Zeus, or if she is the clay creation from the George Perez reboot in 1986 after Crisis, one which I enjoyed also. So Greg Rucka's running with that right now, but he's also doing something interesting. He's got a bi-weekly comic, so you can get 2 issues a month. So what he's doing is he's doing something different. He's got 2 different artists working on his book, and they're going to alternate storylines. So let's see, this is the end of the month. So it'll be the second, let's just say it's going to be the second Wonder Woman of the month, is going to be current, up-to-date, what's going on in the present Wonder Woman storyline right now, with art by Liam Sharp. And the one that's going to be at the beginning of the month, so in 2 weeks, you'll get issue 4, which is going to be the next part of Wonder Woman Year 1. I think Greg is going to fill in her backstory with what he wants to do, and we're going to actually get the answer of who this Wonder Woman actually is, and it's going to connect eventually with the story that's going on here. That story is with his creative partner, he's done a number of stuff with, Nicola Scott, who's fantastic as well. But Liam Sharp is not anyone to overlook. He's actually gorgeous artwork as well, very, very dark on here as well. He's got a really interesting take on Cheetah, which I'm liking, and I like Liam's artwork. It gives this Wonder Woman kind of a dark, creepy type of vibe, whereas Nicola's is more of a upper bright type of thing. There's Steve Trevor, upper bright type of thing. So he appears in both this and the second one. It's just Liam Sharp's artwork is just amazing, and I love it. And this is a great series, and Greg Rucka is writing the hell out of it. So I can't wait to read this. So I highly recommend Wonder Woman number 3. You might want to pick up the Frank Cho variant, because this is the one that he quit over. He thought it was censorship. Plus, it's gorgeous. Look at that. Oh my God, it's a gorgeous cover. So that's the variant. So that's Wonder Woman number 3. Now, when they did Rebirth at the time, well, actually, when they did the New 52, when they announced the New 52, and before the New 52 came out. It was the Flashpoint storyline. Detective Comics and Action Comics were the longest running comics in DC universe history. And then when the New 52 started, they said, we may as well just be uniform across the board. So they canceled Detective and Action at whatever numbers they were at, and then started them both over at number 1, which to me, to be honest, is kind of a shame, because why would you? It's impressive that you have a 900 plus issues, and it's fun to say, yeah, I want to read Detective 937 or Action 215 or stuff like that. I don't want to say, okay, I read Action number 5 from 2014, not Action 5 from 2015, 2014, because they keep starting it over and over again. So when when Rebirth was introduced, they said, we're going to bring Detective and Action back, but we're not going to start over again like we are with all these other books. We're going to actually start over with the renumbering, going back to the old numbering system and bringing that up, because in a few years, both Action and Detective are going to get their 1,000th issue. So you can have a nice, like a $10 issue, 80 to 100 pages each. 100 pages would probably be good. Different creators, whatever. It could be amazing. So until then, you're stuck with Detective Comics number 937, which I got to show you this cover. This is the regular cover. And one of my favorite Batman artists of all time is Jim Aparo. He did it from the 80s. In fact, I think he drew the Death in the Family storyline I was talking about earlier when I was talking about Red Hood. This cover by Eddie Burroughs looks a hell of a lot like an Aparo cover. And I love it. And that's why I went with this instead of the alternate cover. But this is written by James Tynion III, who's been a constant in the Batman universe. So I'm okay with him taking over. This issue is drawn by Alvaro Martinez with inks by Raul Fernandez. I don't think they're the regular art team. There's the Batcave, right? No. Yes. No. Yes. No. No, it's not. But what I like about this is it's actually a Batman team book. Here's his team. There's Tim Drake Robin, who I'm very glad to see back as the Tim Drake I know and love. That's Stephanie, who is the spoiler, who is Batgirl in the pre-52. That's Batwoman, who was really good. Greg Rucka wrote her for a while as well in the New 52. That's Clayface, and I keep forgetting what her name is, but she was the one who was Batgirl first. She's the daughter of one of the assassin type of guy. I'm going to see if there's any context clues in here, but it's good to see Batman with a team, and the artwork is amazing. I think Eddie Burroughs is the usual artist on it, and I guess he just needed a break because this is bi-weekly also. It's good to see, and this is another one. I probably need to start reading this. I haven't read any of these yet. Oh, they're calling her Orphan. Okay, that's her character's name. It's not the one. It's not Cassandra. Cassandra Cain. That's who she was. Cassandra Cain, who was Batman or Batgirl at one time, the daughter of Cain, who was one of the assassins and I guess one of the trainers of Batman. There she is. She was Batgirl for a while. Her name is now Orphan. So it's good to see a Bat team, especially with Clayface as being part of it and Tim Drake as Robin again. And it's such a great, and Batwoman is fantastic, and Spoiler is great also. I love all this. So I got to read this book too, Detective Comics 937. Eddie Burroughs is killing it, and he needed a break, which is fine. And the Martinez and Fernandez, they did a good job of filling in for him. So hopefully we'll see Eddie Burroughs next in 2 weeks. As I was talking about earlier, and then we got Action Comics 960. As I said, don't let the numbers frighten you. This is only like maybe the 3rd issue that's come out. Since they didn't have Rebirth issues either. So you'll probably be able to find the previous issues of these because they were bi-weekly also. So Action, this was the variant. No, this was the regular cover. The reason why I question because the variant cover focused on Wonder Woman, but this is a team up of Wonder Woman with the old school Superman, who's not her boyfriend, who died. So what's great about this, about Action, is It's written by, okay, so it's the fourth part. So it's the fourth. So there's 4 issues of both action and detective. It's written by Dan Jurgens, who's been around since the 80s. He wrote The Death of Superman along with Roger Stern, a bunch of other people as well. But he's been around. He created Booster Gold. He's been around since the 80s, and he's always been hanging around Superman. He's always done a really good job with Superman. He wrote the Lois and Clark book that came out not too long ago, which I really should have picked up. But in this case, Dan is the writer, Tyler Kirkham is the artist. So you get Wonder Woman meeting up with Superman, and you've got Doomsday. And I was looking through this. It was fun watching their relationship as the old school Superman with the new school Wonder Woman. And I'm actually excited to see where this goes. And hopefully, see a little bit more of it in Justice League, because they're both in Justice League also. But Dan Jurgens is a great writer, always has been, a great artist also. And Tyler Kirkham does a pretty good job of on the artwork. So I got to read this as well. So that's Action Comics 960. Now, I brought up Lex Luthor, saying that there's always someone who wants to put the main bad guy in the book, a Joker story or Black Manta story for Aquaman, or stuff like that. Lex isn't in this one too much, but Lex is basically a co-star in this. I know he's in here somewhere. I'm just trying to see if I can find him real quick. There he is. He's basically a co-star in this as well. And he is like another type of Superman also. So he's playing by the rules, but he's doing his own thing. And that's an interesting thing also. I'm okay with seeing Lex over and over again if he's done it in a similar way like that. So one last DC. Those were the DC proper ones. Now, as I said before, Hanna-Barbera has been doing these updates of their cartoons, and Future Quest is one of the good ones. This is the one that teams up Birdman with the Herculoids, Space Ghost, and Johnny Quest. This issue appears to be a little bit different. I have to read it to see if it's connected in any way, but this appears to be 2 different stories, one featuring Birdman and one featuring the Herculoids, and no connection between them or Space Ghost or Johnny Quest. And I'm hoping that they don't get away from that, because seeing them all team up together is actually really good. So get the nice cover to begin with. Where's the best spot for that? There we go. I think that's Steve Rude. Yeah, Steve Rude did the art, because Steve Rude is fantastic, and he actually does the artwork. Jeff Parker writes both stories. Steve Rude does the artwork for the Birdman story, and I miss Steve Rude's artwork. I loved his work. It's old school. 2 of my favorite posters I have that I do not have up in the house right now are when he did one of the best World's Finest miniseries, which I'll talk about some other time. And I got both a poster of a Superman that he did and a Batman that he did, and I love them to death. And I need to get them up in the house somewhere, because they're fantastic. But I love Steve Rude. It's always good to see him back in action, and especially when you see him doing Birdman. Now, the Herculoids is also written by Jeff Parker with art by Aaron Lopresti. And no, I'm not going to do this right now. Boom. Inks by Carl Kessel, who is a fantastic inker, by the way. Aaron Lopresti is one of those artists that is, constantly, is always good. Never have any. He's fast. He's good at what he does, and as you see, it's gorgeous. And then Carl Kessel just is an amazing inker, and it's just good to see the clean lines, stuff like that. So you can do these ones where you separate between the stuff, but the main reason you wanted to do Future Quest is to have them team up together, and a Johnny Quest and a Birdman and a Herculoids and a Space Ghost all working together. It's amazing. So we'll see what happens, but Future Quest number 3 is out. The other 2 were sort of like that, where they were all crossing over with each other. This was the first one where they were 2 separate ones. Okay, that's all the DCs I got, and I'm almost done on my juice. So let me finish that and just truck through. Now, the funny thing is, it's funny how things reverse. Before Rebirth happened, I was getting less DCs and getting more Marvels. But the fact is, Marvel releases so many damn books that I could not afford to buy all of them. And there were only certain ones that I could. And then gradually, when I decided I wasn't going to buy comics anymore, I just stopped. And so they sort of dissipate. I've been slowly getting back in, but because DC, and you know what, maybe I'm being hypocritical, but I complain about them restarting number 1s and stuff like that. But it's a good way to get back into comics. But you could do that in the regular series. I don't mind coming into a book at issue 261 if it's a new creative team and a new direction, whatever, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I don't need to have a number one. Just as long as I can follow what's going on, But that's the problem. You see that number, like, damn, I got to read the previous 260 to understand this. No, you don't. So I can understand why they want to redo number ones, but oh well. So Marvel, I've been getting less and less of. And it still might be the case in the future. They've got a Marvel Now coming up, so who knows? In the fall, they're going to be rebooting some series and introducing some new ones. That might be, there's some that look interesting. I've seen the ads for them. They look kind of good. So we'll see what happens. I might pick up some more of those. But the whole key behind that is to connect with the Civil War movie. Came out in May, comes out September 13th on DVD. Marvel is releasing Civil War 2. This is number 4. And in this case, Captain Marvel is the one who goes up against Tony Stark and Iron Man. And this one focuses more on that. Now, what's really good about this Civil War is, sorry, I thought I heard something weird, is that when Marvel does one of these like books, crossovers every year, that's going to change the Marvel Universe. Secret Wars was last year. I forget what the other ones were the year before. Original Sin was one. They did one every year, big crossover. The problem was the artist they got on the main book was slow as molasses. So they would be so far behind that by the time the last issue of the series came out, the other series would have already restarted because they weren't going to hold them. So you knew who was going to survive and what the situation was and stuff like that. But with this one, Civil War is moving along at a pretty good clip, and then you could make that as Dave Marquez as the artist. He might not be an outstanding artist, but he's very good at it. And Brian Michael Bendis is, a good writer at getting stuff done out there. But it's gorgeous artwork, and it's fun to focus more on Captain Marvel because I like her, and there's a really good shot of Miles Morales. So Dave Marquez is doing a really good job with the artwork, and he's doing it consistently on time. So it's a good bet that when the final issue of Civil War 2 comes out, it'll be a perfect lead into the new Marvel Now series. And there's a bunch of them coming up, and I don't think they have any ads for them. But, it's your typical thing, and just this last reveal with the Guardians of the Galaxy coming to help is pretty good. So it looks like we're gonna have a major war coming up. And here's the thing, I hate when they do this because then you have the crossovers. These are all the mini series that they do, and then these are the crossovers with the regular series that they do. So you got all that stuff going on. So we'll see. But this looks good. It's on time as of now. The artwork is good, and Brian Michael Bendis, has a proven track record. So hopefully this will be the first series in a while that'll be done on time and will be able to lead into the new series. Granted, we've already seen some of the new Marvel Now stuff coming out, so we'll see what happens. It looks like they're going more for a young versus old vibe. So. And you're going to see that a lot more. So, because they have young heroes and you have old ones. And that might be a good thing to do, especially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because a lot of the actors who are in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now, Downey Jr., Evans, even Scarlett, even though she's still fairly young, in between all the time, it takes 2-3 years to make one of these movies, they're getting older. And they can't do this forever. So you're going to need to start introducing more of the younger characters. So maybe that's what Marvel is planning on doing. So we'll see. But one of the miniseries I'm going to keep buying is Choosing Sides, because it's always good to get this. This is Civil War 2, Choosing Sides number 3. I like this series because you get 3 stories in it. One is basically a serial, so you're going to see it every issue of the Choosing Sides storyline. But you get 2 other stories featuring characters that may not be a major focal point in Civil War, but you get to see what's going on with them. Like I saw next issue, which I can't wait to see, is going to have Power Pack on it, and I love Power Pack. This one has Kate Bishop, who I love, J. Jonah Jameson, and Nick Fury. So you got 3 different stories. The Kate Bishop story is written by Ming Doyle with art by Stephen Byrne. The J. Jonah Jameson story is written by Derek Landy with art by Felipe Andrade. And then the Nick Fury one, as I said, is the serial that's going on through it, is written and drawn by Declan Shalvey. So I'll show you a little bit of both. I love Kate Bishop. She's a great character in Hawkeye. We get to see what's going on with her right now, especially what was happening in Civil War with Hawkeye. It's good to see her. have a little bit of a spotlight, but you really couldn't have it in Civil War because that's not really the story they're going for. They just want to get a little bit of a story on Kate in that end. And just, I love the reveal of the Young Avengers at the end, which is fantastic. And if they do a Young Avengers series, I'm all for it, especially if Ming Doyle writes it. I think that would be amazing. J. Jonah Jameson is interesting. You don't expect to see a J. Jonah Jameson story, but it makes sense because he is the news and he's got to cover the Civil War and he's got to figure out how he's going to do it. So it's always interesting to see that. And check that out. And then, of course, Declan Shalvey continues to be an amazing artist. Look at this 2-page spread. It's just absolutely stunning. And it's almost complete nothingness. And you can see he still draws some good characters. So Choosing Sides is one I would probably continue to be buying, but I'm probably not going to be getting a lot more of them. I'll have to wait and see because I like Spider-Man, so I'll probably get the Spider-Man one. I like the Gods, so I'll probably continue to get the Gods of War. Probably get Kingpin, but I'm not getting X-Men. And there's a bunch of other ones like Ulysses and Inhuman, stuff like that. I'm probably not going to get those either, but we'll see. It depends on who the creative team is and if it looks good. So that's that one. Now, I do collect some of the Marvel series, one especially for my wife. This next one I'm actually is for my wife, but I still like to read it because I like the character as well. But they're getting Civil War II crossovers as well. But in this case, they're pretty good. I looked through them. So this is Captain Marvel #7. Captain Marvel, of course, is one of the main people in Civil War II. So she has her own series, so it's good to see that get involved with this. I think this one is going to talk about her point of view about why she is choosing the path she's going to Civil War II. Written by Ruth Fletcher Gage and Christos Gage with art by Marco Falia. They're going to restart the Captain Marvel movie or Captain Marvel comic after Civil War II and leading into the movie that they had the casting already. So I already talked about that on my other show, Dylan Knows, last week. So check that out if you haven't seen it yet. But no, check it out. Captain Marvel, good. I'll have to drop this off for my wife tomorrow so she can read it. So, you know, it's good to see that. And then you get the review of, oh no, actually that's in the other one. So Captain Marvel #7. To get her viewpoint about why she chose the path she did. Talking about Frank Cho. We were earlier. Frank Cho was the original artist on Totally Awesome Hulk. This is Totally Awesome Hulk #9. It was written by Greg Pak and art by Frank Cho. Now, of course, again, because Frank has that it takes him a while to draw a book. He was able to do 3 in advance, and that was all he could do. So he was still doing the covers, and then he's just off entirely. The Dodsons have come on to do the covers. I like the Dodsons. This is a interesting cover. It's Amadeus Cho is the Hulk. It's no longer Bruce Banner. Spoiler alert, in Civil War II, the Bruce Banner Hulk was killed by Hawkeye, but it wasn't exactly as you see it. And that's all I'm going to tell you, but it wasn't exactly how you think it was. So in this case, Amadeus Cho finds out, and he's coming to enter Civil War as well. So Greg Pak is the writer, and I think Mike Del Mundo is the new artist. And his is more of a watercolory type of artwork, which is really interesting to take a look at, especially when you see Amadeus Cho's Hulk. And it's very different. It's very interesting, and it kind of excited to see it. So, you know, I'm sorry to see Frank go, but you know, this is pretty good series. Great Pak's doing a good job, and of course, there's a new Hulkbuster one with Black Panther in control. That's pretty cool. So, Totally Awesome Hulk #9 is out this week as well. Civil War crossover. So pick that up as well. We've talked about this before. Captain America, Steve Rogers, Captain America #3 is now Captain Hydra, as everybody calls him, but we discovered in the last issue that he is being manipulated by the Red Skull, but he still believes that he is a Hydra a Hydra agent, and to see him bow before his most hated enemy, the Red Skull, is very interesting. We also get an appearance by Taskmaster, who is a fantastic character, and it's good to see him get back into it. This is written by Nick Spencer with art by Jesus Saez. So Captain America is an interesting story. They got an interesting story going on with him being a Hydra agent. So we'll see what happens with that. So Captain America #3. Next up is Black Panther #4. This is an excellent book also, and with the Black Panther's appearance in Civil War II, and he's got a movie coming out in a couple years, I think. And he's got a great cast coming around for him. Getting excited about Black Panther as a character. He's really good, and you got a great writer in Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I think is actually African. Brian Stelfreeze is the artist, and Laura Martin, I think, does the colors. This may very well be Brian Stelfreeze's last issue, because he is the type of guy, I think he takes his time with the artwork as well. But his replacement is Chris Sprouse, who I love. Chris Sprouse is a really good artist. I've met him a number of times at various cons in Baltimore. He's a really nice guy, and I really like I really enjoy his artwork. Not that I don't like Brian Stelfreeze. Brian Stelfreeze is really good, but the Black Panther is one of those unique books in the comics, and it's going strong right now. So pick up Black Panther #4. As I said, since it's #4, you'll probably be able to pick up some of the other issues as well. It's highly recommended. Finally, my last Marvel is, I almost wasn't going to buy this, but then I discovered I had a little extra money, so I figured I was going to. This has been an interesting book in itself. This is Mockingbird #5. I don't know if it's going to last that much longer. The fact that Mockingbird is no longer on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and her spinoff didn't get picked up. But this is written by Chelsea Cain with art by Ibrahim Mustafa. And Mockingbird is a very interesting character. She's actually being a supporting cast member in the Spider-Man book. So they decided to give her own series as well. And, you get some old school type of stuff. Remember in the old days when they used to do these cutaways, to explain, the headquarters and stuff like that. And of course, you can't go wrong when you get an appearance by Howard the Duck. Gotta love Howard the Duck. And Miles Morales also makes an appearance in this as well. So Mockingbird's a fun book, but I don't expect it to be lasting all that much longer. But I will probably continue to pick it up because I like it. So that's the last of the Marvel. Whew, I've been going for almost an hour now. I got a lot to say, don't I? And I'm almost done. I got my independents now. As I said, comics are, #1s, even though I complain about them, it's a good starting point, especially if you've never been to a comic book store and you're interested to see what's going on. I'm about to show you a blast from the past. IDW this week released, after months and months of teasing, ROM #1. Now, for those who don't remember, ROM was a toy, I think, from the 1980s. And Marvel had the rights to the character, and they made a number of comics, maybe even a cartoon, whatever. I remember the Dire Wraiths was his major bad guy, and then they co-opted them for X-Men and the Avengers and stuff like that. But ROM has always had sort of a cult following, and it sort of disappeared for a while. But now he's starting to come back. And one of the cult followers is Chris Ryall, who I know personally as well. When I was a brand manager at Diamond Comics, I had IDW as one of my accounts before they got to be as big as they were. Let's just say I helped them get there. But Chris, I met a couple times. He's a really cool guy. It was him who was really the one who reached out there and wanted to get ROM back into the fold. So once he got the IDW set up, he said, let's just go after it again. And then he asked Christos Gage, who wrote Captain Marvel, to come in and help him as well. So Christos Gage and Chris Ryall are doing the writing. Art is by Dave Messina, who is a regular on IDW. Inks by Michael Pasta. And they released ROM as a number 0 during Free Comic Book Day to get people excited for this issue. This is one of the variant covers. I really like the variant cover a lot, and it's also nice to have a little memoriam to Darwin Cook, who did a couple books for IDW also. But it's ROM. It might not be the best looking book in the world, but you know what? It's ROM. And it's a flashback to, those who are around my age might remember ROM. There's I forget who it is. I don't want to mention his name. But there's a guy on Twitter who is a huge Rom fan, and he's been salivating for this. So this is a pretty actually good for $5. You get a pretty thick, sturdy book. A lot of story, a lot of art, and I'm really excited to read it. When I read the number 0, it didn't knock me out, but it was just the first part of the book. You need to read all the rest of it to maybe make a lot more sense. So you gotta love Rom. Rom number 1 came out today. So there's a couple different covers. This is the variant one. Let's see, where are the other? These are the covers that you probably will see at your local comic store. And then there are a bunch of variant ones as well. So Rom number 1, I just picked this up because I just like this cover. So Rom number 1, and I like the character, so I remember it from my childhood, so we'll see. I also love when let's jump back in the late 1980s, early 90s. The independents were just starting to come around a little bit. Marvel and DC still had a stranglehold on things, but the independents were starting to squeeze in, especially when Image came out and independents started getting more of an appearance. So Dark Horse Comics, who's always been, was always in the background, whatever. They made a huge play in the late 80s, and they got the rights to do an Aliens comic, the aliens from the movies. And it went gangbusters in black and white, and the first issue became like gold. And I was lucky enough to get a copy of it. I have a copy of it somewhere in my myriad of boxes. It's not worth gold anymore, but when it came out, it was a huge deal. Then they got the rights to the Predator and RoboCop and Judge Dredd and all these things. And so they started saying, you know what, there's a lot of money you can make in licensing. So now you get a lot of licensing. I mean, IDW does a lot of licensing. Titan does a lot of licensing. Dark Horse does some a little bit. So, you know, but they were also the first one to really get into the fans' mindset. And people were always clamoring for an Aliens vs. Predator sequence. So they made an Aliens vs. Predator comic, and it's been spiraling since then. They've done Aliens versus whoever and Predator versus whoever, and so you've been doing that. So now they've teamed up with IDW and have come up with, this is just a great cover, and the artwork inside is great. Predator versus Judge Dredd versus Aliens #1. This looks fantastic. It's a great premise, and it's awesome artwork. It's written by John Layman with art by Chris Mooneyham. And oh my God, it is gorgeous artwork. Gorgeous artwork. And there's like some sort of other mutant creatures who've been hunting aliens and predators as well. And you know, you get Judge Dredd in there. And then you get, let's see if we can find a predator in here. A predator being held hostage, you know, and an alien face hugger. So it's touching all the bases. The artwork looks amazing. And it's such a great idea for a miniseries to have Judge Dredd take on Predator vs. Aliens. So definitely check that out when you go to your local comic book store. Wow, I've almost been on for an hour. Only got a couple more books, though, so bear with me. Also from Dark Horse, Cryptocracy #2. I read #1. I loved it. The basic premise is there are 9 secret governments, basically, that run the world, and each one has a specific part they have to play. However, and they've been in hiding for centuries. However, someone has decided to start killing them, and they're going to have to figure out how they're going to save themselves now, even though they've been focusing on saving the world. Van Jensen, who is a great writer, wrote this, and art by Pete Woods. Pete Woods is another one of those artists that he's very consistent. He's not going to wow you, but is very, very consistent when it comes to artwork. And the story is an amazing story, and really good and interesting, and I can't wait to read more about it. It's got aliens and talking werewolves and crazy, or talking bears, I should say, extra dimensional people, humans, bickering, stuff like that. But Cryptocracy #2 came out this week. #1 was excellent. #2 is probably going to be just as good. And finally, we're going to end with Aftershock Comics. Black Eyed Kids #4. This is one I just picked up on a whim because I like the artwork. Joe Pruitt's the writer. Simon Kodransky is the artist. It's a very dark, horror-esque book. Highly recommend it for those who like horror. It's the 4th issue, so it's moving right along at a good clip. Aftershock has got some really good stuff coming up. And they're already doing good stuff. Rough Riders is another good series. Beck, Black Eyed Kids is a really good series also. Insects, which is a lesbian alien insect book written by Marguerite Bennett, is fantastic. There's also transgender heroes. There's gay heroes. It's one of those things where they're throwing everything in there. And I just got to tell you about the next month, and you'll be seeing it on the Comic Hall. Marguerite Bennett is writing Animosity, which I cannot wait for. It's about not aliens, about animals that have taken over the earth. Yes, sounds like Zoo, but it's something different. And Paul Jenkins is doing an interesting book that might look good too with Layla Lays called Alters. And as I said, Rough Riders is good. I haven't read really any of these other ones, but let me look at it. We got The Revisionist by Frank Barbary and Gary Brown, Captain Kidd #1, Mark Waid and Tom Payer, and Wilfredo Torres. I'm going to check it out just for that lineup. Second Sight, American Monster by Brian Azzarello, stuff like that. So Aftershock Comics is one you really need to check out. So go to your local comic store. Hopefully they have a display. Mine has an Aftershocks display, and unfortunately they only have the later issues, so I might have to wait for trades when they come out. But they got a lot of good stuff and a lot of good creative teams on there. So I've gone over the hour. I didn't mean to go this long, but you know what? There was a lot to talk about. And next week will be beginning of August. As I said, once again, real quick, this is not all the books that came out this week. These are the books that I bought. There are tons of books that came out this week. Tons of books that came out the week. You might want to go, if you want to find out what actually comes out this week, go to your search engine and type in previews or Diamond Comics previews or whatever, or Diamond Comic Distributors or whatever. It'll take you to the website and you'll find a tab to see new this week. They've changed it recently where they now have thumbnail sketches of each cover, so that including variants. So it's so great. They used to be just the words. It was like, okay, it's Spider-Man #4. Okay, that's good. Then you go to the store, it's like, oh, there's Spider-Man #4. Okay, now I get to see the covers, and now you get to say, okay, I think I want to pick up the variant because I like how that looks, or I like that one, or you get or you say, you know what, that cover looks good. Before you go to the store, say, yeah, you know what, maybe I'll check that one out, whatever. So go to the website, click on the new this week stuff, and you'll see all the thumbnails. So you'll be able to see all the covers of the books that I have and the ones that I didn't get and stuff like that, all the variants and stuff like that, whatever you want. They update it every Monday. So this upcoming Monday will have this week's comics on there. And I always check it out on Monday. And again, either on Wednesday or Friday, whenever I buy my comics, write down which ones I'm going to get so that when I go to the store, I don't miss any of the ones that I want. So on that note, I've talked enough for you. I do have another show called Dylan Knows. That'll be on tomorrow at 9 o'clock. It's going to be my 150th episode. I'll be all by myself, but I'm really impressed with myself that I've gone almost 3 years. My 3-year anniversary will be up in September. But 150 episodes tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And then on Sunday, I'll be joining the rest of the Snark Alex on a one-time reunion of Snark Alex Radio, which was the great granddaddy of all these shows that started me on my path. We'll be coming on to talk about Sharknado 4. And then things will go back to normal after this. So enjoy the rest of your week. Go to your comic book store this weekend. There's some good stuff out there. Your comic stores might have good deals. You might be able to get caught up on some of these books, especially, as I said, the Rebirths. If you're interested in DC stuff, you might want to check that out. And even some of the Marvel one, as I said, too, Rom #1, man, and Judge Dredd versus Alien versus Predator #1 as well. Cryptocracy is only on issue #2, so #1 might still be out there. And you might get lucky with Black Eyed Kids also. You might pick up some of those as well, still available. So on that note, I'm going to say good night. Happy reading. I'm going to read some more of these probably this weekend and be able to tell you more about them when they come in. So have a pleasant evening. Catch me tomorrow, my 150th anniversary, my 150th episode of Dylan Knows. Should be a lot of fun. And I'll be on Snark Alex Radio on Sunday talking Sharknado 4. Thanks. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week. Keep reading.